thanks for showing up for Elk Talk Live. Like we say, you know, this is without a net. We're like walking the high wire without a net. If something goes wrong, if I say something stupid, we can't get it back. You get to see it. So anyhow, want to thank all the companies that make this possible. Bowtech, Leupold, Onyx, Go Hunt, Tight Spot, Ripcord, Black Gold, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. And just great that we get to do this. We are getting to the end. I mean, there's not a lot of states left. The good news is right now, I think in the next week we're going to get elk and deer results from Montana. And in the next week we're going to get results on everything. Elk, deer, antelope, bighorn, you name it. All the exotics, everything we're going to get from New Mexico. So be paying close attention to your emails or log into your accounts. And you're going to, hopefully, some of this, what we've done, you're going to draw a tag because of that. But there's two of the companies want to make sure that you know if you use promo code RANDY, you get 20% off at Onyx Maps on their app products. And Go Hunt will give you $50 of Mad Money, free cash in their gear shop if you sign up for the Insider. So, all right, Michael, what do we got going, huh? Anything?
Are you going to chase turkeys or bears?
Am I going to chase turkeys or bears? I'm chasing bears. These guys are chasing turkeys. But really, what we got to figure out is Monday is the 16th. I'm looking at the calendar. That's the deadline for Nevada, right? You don't want to miss Nevada. And then we go to May 15th. That's the deadline for Oregon. And then for elk, deer, and antelope, we have the deadline in Idaho for elk, deer, and antelope is the end of May, usually the first part of June. And then for Montana and Idaho, we have moose, goat, and sheep deadlines the end of April. So we've still got some deadlines coming up, but we're mostly focused on elk here. So that's why most of the questions, most of the comments are focused on elk. And when we talk about Nevada, you heard us talk about it last week, that when you're applying in Nevada, it's a complicated, not super complicated, but it's a complicated system because they square your bonus points. And they let you have 5 choices before they go on to the next person. Well, for non-residents, we get a pretty small piece of the pie in Nevada, up to 10%. Well, so here's the difference between Nevada and, say, a state like Montana or Arizona. Montana and Arizona say that non-residents get up to 10%. Doesn't mean they get 10%, they get up to 10%. So non-residents might only get 6 or 8 or whatever for certain hunt codes. Nevada actually carves the pool of non-resident tags off to the side and says, this is the 10%. They're all going to non-residents. All of you go in this separate non-resident draw, and only non-residents are competing for those tags. So there is a difference between how some of the states do it. But like I said last week in Nevada, if you have 10 bonus points and I have 2, they square your bonus points. So you've got 10 squared is 100, plus you get 1 for your current year application. That's 101. I've got 2, so you square 2, that's 4, plus my current application. I get 5 random numbers. You get 101. Who do you think's got the better chance of drawing a tag? You. And so each of your random numbers is assigned to you, and they look at all 101 that you have and say, all right, here's your lowest random number. That's the number you use in the draw. All right, Randy, here's your 5 numbers. Here's your lowest one. It's not very low, but it's your lowest one. That's the number you use going into the draw. And then they sort them all from lowest to highest. In other words, the smallest number to the biggest number. And they start with the lowest number and just start picking them away. And if they get to you and all 5 of your choices in Nevada are filled, guess what? No luck for you. You get another bonus point. And they do that for every species that you apply for in Nevada. So that's a kind of complicated way to do it, but it's how they do it. Oh, look at that. We're live on Facebook. My Facebook page is actually working.
Oh, there we go.
Ha! Tim, see, the technology guy, he's not all bad. He's he's out there in Kansas turkey hunting. Hey, Matthew says hello from Australia. Look at that, huh? Someone from Australia wants to come here. Scott Jones just joined. That's cool. We are live now, and everybody's going to say, hey, I got the text, but I couldn't get on this week. Whereas last week, everybody could get on, and we didn't have the text, right? Oh, man. Colton wants to know what's up. I don't know. Colton, what's up with you? But we want to make sure. Wayne says, I'm lost. You just now showed up on Facebook. I know. I feel like I'm lost today also. But here's a couple things. A lot of people last week said they didn't get the text, so we went through, made sure everyone's going to get the text. Hopefully y'all got the text this week. And to get notified, the text is, you want to text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453. And you'll get notified, and you're also going to be in the drawing for the hunt that we're putting together. I think we're that close. You've heard me saying that. Our goal is to have it ready. Let's see, that Elk Talk episode in May, I think is May 9th. I think that's our goal, to try have it ready. All the details, everything else ready to go by May 9th. So if you go out to our Facebook or our YouTube channel, we just released a trailer out there about a film we did called Uncommon Ground. It's a public land elk hunt, and it's about public lands and how important public lands are to all of us. So I hope you'll go out there and watch it. We're going to premiere that film at the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers event this week in Boise on Friday night. And then, so the one we're premiering in Boise, we got a bunch of, what am I going to say, funny outtakes at the end. There was a BHA employee with us on that hunt, and I don't know if he understands how much fun we're going to make of him with the outtakes in that hunt. But then we're going to re-edit it, and we're going to put it up on Amazon, and then it's also going to go to YouTube. So I think you're going to like it, though. Pretty cool hunt. I might be a little biased, but let's see. Cody says, how come last week's hunt talk isn't up on YouTube yet? You know, that's a good question. I'm going to ask Michael. Do you know why last week's hunt elk talk wasn't up on YouTube yet?
No.
No? Nobody knows.
It might be loaded up on there. And we've been,
I don't know. Maybe it's there. A lot of people say, I'm ready to go hunting. Me too. It's been, if you live in Montana, it's been snowing every day. It is April, what is it, 11th? And just north of here, it got 6 inches of snow today. I don't know, how does it, when you go, have you been out shed hunting, Michael?
I have.
You have? Found any?
No.
No, too much snow, right? So it's just a tough winter in Montana this year for deer and elk. And I don't know how that's going to affect things. I know it's really affecting deer and antelope. I don't know how it'll affect the elk. The elk are pretty tough. They'll probably get through it. So, oh, let's see. Randy, what kind of wind checker do you use? It's pretty easy to use a wind checker. You can make your own. You just get a little puffer bottle and put some sort of talcum powder or other kind of powder in there, and off you go. And you'll see the little puffs. You want something that's really light, that any wind is going to move it. And you can use any one you want. I buy the ones just because I'm usually in a hurry and I'm on the road when I lose one. So I got to go buy one. But all right, someone wants to know what the code is for Onyx Maps. It's Randy. Every promo code we use is Randy, R-A-N-D-Y. How easy is that? All right, so what are we going to do when the results for New Mexico come out this week? The results for Montana come out this week. Colorado is going to come out next month. And let's say you don't have a tag. Then it comes down to, what's the strategy? How are you going to go elk hunting? Well, you're going to have Colorado as an option, where archery and second and third rifle season, you can go and buy a tag over the counter. And then you're probably going to have some leftovers in Montana. I know there's going to be some leftovers in Montana, because I got a call today from one of our guest hunters who was coming to archery hunt with us this year. I'm sure he's going to draw, and he's going to have to turn the tag back because of work. So I know there's going to be at least one leftover tag in Montana. Idaho has a ton of tags, and Michael, we're going to Idaho this year, aren't we?
I hope so.
That's what he says. I hope so. That's on our plan. We're trying to get to Idaho this year. It's easy. It's close. Tags are easy to acquire, and we're thinking that we're going to go do this right on the Montana-Idaho border. We're going to have a tag for each state, right? We're going to go there in the rut, and we're going to call, and no matter which side they respond from, we're going after them, or at least in theory. So someone asks, it's an early season cow hunt mid-August. Do I look at higher elevations or lower towards the feed and water? It depends. If there is no feed lower, they're going to be up higher, because think about the high country has the best lush, moist vegetation throughout the summer months. And until it actually starts getting colder, you go up high and you see how it gets kind of a brown look. Some people say, oh, it's burning up there. By that, they mean that the vegetation is curing and burning. Well, until that happens, the elk like to stay up there, because they know that that's only a seasonal opportunity for them to get that really high quality food for themselves. And then once that gets covered with snow or it cures, then the best food starts being lower and lower down the mountain. So in most areas with a lot of high alpine, there's going to be plenty of water up there, and the best food in an early hunt like this person's asking in August, they're going to be up high. Now, if you're in a place where there isn't a lot of elevation change, say you're in some of the places in New Mexico or Arizona where it's just pinyon juniper, or it's mostly ponderosa and it's just rolling in canyons, that's a completely different story. But when you get to high alpine country, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, parts of Nevada, parts of Utah, you're going to see them up higher more than you are lower, just because that's where the best food is. And remember, we always talk about what are their needs at what time of year. And the reason we don't spend a lot of time talking about the needs of cow elk is because they have one primary need year round, and it's food. And so find the best food, you're going to find the cow elk. Why don't I do a muzzleloader hunt in Colorado? For a couple of reasons. I'm not much of a muzzleloader hunter. I've taken, I think, 3 animals with a muzzleloader, 2 mule deer and 1 whitetail deer. Nothing against it. I wish I was good at it, but I'm not. So I stick to a bow. And a lot of you are saying, well, Newberg, you're not any good with a bow either. But for those of you who are aware or unaware, Colorado's muzzleloader season in most units is in the peak of the rut. And so you're out there with the archers in September with a muzzleloader. Colorado has quite a few restrictions. So if you plan on going to Colorado and doing a muzzleloader hunt, make sure your muzzleloader, your ammo, everything complies with the rules in Colorado. Colorado, Nevada, Idaho all have pretty strict rules about what's a legal muzzleloader. Some states like Montana and even Wyoming, I think Wyoming has 1 or 2 muzzleloader only hunts and I think those are antelope hunts. But Montana and Wyoming, it's, you know what, if you want to hunt with a muzzleloader, you just go during the regular rifle season. Some of the other states further south have a specific muzzleloader season. I don't do it. It's, again, like I said, not for any reason, just I don't. So, all right. Let's see. Someone asked, Scott Jones asked, did you put in for a Nevada archery tag on your later picks? I didn't, Scott, and the reason being is this year my calendar in August is a mess, and Nevada's archery deer hunts are mostly August hunts. There's some in November, but this was the year where my calendar said, all right, I got to go in October if I'm going to go. So the odds are I'm not going to draw in Nevada, because like we were talking about earlier, the odds for rifle are way harder than they are for muzzleloader or deer. And in this higher demand in rifle season, if you have low points, like I have 0 points this year, so squaring 0 is 0, right? So I only get this year's random number, 1 random number assigned to me. So my odds of drawing in Nevada for deer are really, really small. I think I got 2 or 3 elk points now that I'm out of the penalty box. those odds are still really, really small. Let's see, what tripod do you use for your spotting scope? Boy, we use all kinds of them, don't we, Michael? We got Manfrottos, we got some made by Leupold, we got some Benros. I can't even remember, Giotto, what's that other one I bought?
Gitzo, I think?
No, it's a Giotto or something like that.
I think it's
Made by Gitzo, you think? Okay. So, anyhow, what they all have in common is they're all carbon fiber, so they're lighter, and they all have a fluid head. I take that back. I have one really small one that has a what do you call it? I don't even know what they call it.
It's still kind of a fluid head,
It's
isn't it? Or,
no, the ball head. There we go. I like the fluid heads because if you got something big like a spotting scope, if you move it just 1 degree, it really changes your field of view. And the little ball heads, you really can't slowly move that or either grid it up and down or move it horizontally very well without moving and missing a lot of stuff. So that's why we go to the fluid heads. You'll see a lot of people use those, and they also use them with binos, and we do that a lot also. We just put some Arizona Coues deer hunting up on our YouTube channel. I think we did 7 or 8 days down there, and you'll see we have our 15 by 56s locked down on tripods. It's amazing how much more you will see. And when you're looking for those little itty bitty whitetails in that really thick brush, you want to be as steady, as slow and deliberate as you possibly can. Oh, let's see. How many tags has Randy and the crew drawn so far? Randy's drawn 0. Matthew, my son, has drawn Wyoming elk. Uncle Larry's drawn Wyoming elk. One of our friends has drawn Arizona elk, but that's it. And usually by now we got a pretty good sack full of tags. So lucky we live in Montana, so we know we got over-the-counter elk and we got over-the-counter deer. So those are fallbacks that we always have. And this might be the year where we do tons and tons of over-the-counter hunts. I know you're going to see a grouse hunt or 2. What else did we say we're going to do this year, Michael? We got all kinds of things that we said we were going to do that are a little different. You're going to see an antelope hunt.
Yeah, we're going to turkey hunt, which is different.
In 2 weeks, we will on the 25th? Yeah. 25th, we won't be doing Elk Talk Live because Michael and Marcus are going turkey hunting. I'm not a turkey hunter. I've proved that way too often. Okay, here's a good one. Can I realistically hunt elk from a motel, or do I need to have a full-blown camp? That depends. So I'm trying to think when I've stayed in motels and I've shot elk. Wyoming, one time I stayed in a motel, I shot my elk there. My buddy Mark, we stayed in it's kind of like these little mini cabins that were close to being a motel. He shot an elk in Wyoming. Colorado, I shot an elk staying in a motel. Arizona, our buddy Lee Havemeyer shot an elk while staying in a motel. Uncle Larry, when all of his, we were staying in camps. So I guess there I rattled off quite a few of them, right, that we'd stayed in motels. So you can do it. The things you got to understand is you're going to have to get up earlier. You're probably looking at an extra 30 to 40, 50 minutes, maybe even an hour drive each morning and drive back each night. The trade-off is you're probably going to get a good night's sleep. You're not going to be laying in a wall tent with a 30-mile-an-hour wind flapping the canvas against the frame, keeping you awake all night. You don't have to get up and stoke the fire. So there are trade-offs, and we've done it quite a few times where we've stayed in motels and we've shot elk. I'm trying to think of any of our New Mexico elk we ever stayed in a motel and shot one. I don't think so. I think all of those have been camps. Colorado, when Marcus and I were there a couple of years ago, that was a camp. Last year, Arizona, when I shot that bull, that was a camp. So I'd say about 1/4 of our elk are taken from motels, while we stay at motels. The 3/4 of it are probably when we do the traditional camp. So when looking at units to archery hunt over-the-counter elk in Colorado, do I prefer units with higher populations of elk and therefore hunters are lower populations and possibly a higher kill ratio. Give me the lower population unit with fewer hunters. For me, it's not always just about success in filling a tag. It's also about the quality of the experience. And that's part of why I go and I hike back into crazy, way back in the bush places. And it's just the kind of experience I seek. I can't say that there's a right or a wrong. It's just what I want. So let's see, a bunch of New Mexico folks are chiming in. It's going to be scary dry in New Mexico this year. I think the same for Arizona. I've already heard some people saying that in Arizona, they might turn their tag back in. Arizona has that point guard program where once every 5 years, I think it is, you can turn your tag back in. If you bought the $5 point guard in advance, it's kind of like an insurance policy. You can turn it back in and you're going to get your points restored. Some people are saying that as dry as it is in Arizona, they're thinking about doing it. Let's see. Have I ever used a floorless teepee? No, I haven't. I know the guys over at Meat Eater, Giannis was telling me that they use one and he likes it. But for me, I don't like a teepee because you're sharing it with people. And I know this sounds weird, right? But when I spend 100 days a year sleeping under the stars, I don't want to have to share a tent with someone. Michael's over there laughing because all three of us carry our own tents in on these backpack hunts. And someone says, well, why don't you guys carry one teepee and or one whatever, and all of you sleep in that? You know what? We spend enough time together. We don't need to stay in some sort of tent together. So that's why and that's why I haven't used them and why I can't give you a good answer to that. So Scott Johnson asked this question, and because we get it so much, we did a YouTube video about it, I think probably a month ago. How many coolers do you need to haul elk meat home, and what size cooler? So it depends on, one, how good you are at boning it and how efficient. In other words, how much meat are you going to end up with? But here's what I can usually do. I can usually take a 65, a 65, and an 85. And I can get a fully mature, blown out bull elk in there, in those three, with lots of room for ice. So if I have a 2-day drive home, I've got this much room on top where I can just line it with frozen milk jugs, frozen water jugs, dry ice, whatever. And then I don't have to worry about it on the way home. Now, some guys will try to pack it into fewer coolers, but understand, if you put it in fewer coolers, you got a greater ratio of meat in there and less room for ice. So for me, I have two 65s and an 85. I use these Orion coolers. If you go out to our YouTube channel, you're going to see the video we did about how we do it. And I think this year, if we're lucky enough and we shoot an elk this year, I hope we do, we're going to do a video about, all right, here's how we do it. Here's how we're splitting it out. And what we try to balance it out. We don't put it all in one or all in the other. We try to make it so that it's, proportionate amount of meat to ice in each of the coolers. So, what kind of tent do I use? I use Newberg tents. It's just something that works great for me. I've been using them forever. I'm trying to think when I bought my first Newberg tent. I don't know, over 10 years ago, I'm sure of that. Here we go. Craig says, Randy, I once met a seasoned elk old timer, and he made a device like an accordion that applied smoke to his clothes. He insists that it will beat the elk's nose. You know what, old timer? If you are, I don't care what you wear, what you do, whether it's smoke, whether it's these scent products, if you get upwind of an elk, the game is over. It's that simple. And you hear all these old wives' tales about this and this works that way, and you can get by with this. No. With a mature bull elk that's been hunted, you are not getting by with anything. So filling your clothes full of smoke, forget about it. You have to play the wind, no matter where the wind is. And we did a hunt. It was in season, I think, 4 of Fresh Tracks. It was a Montana archery elk hunt with Corey Jacobson. And if you want to see how big of a loop Corey would go on just to play the wind, we'd get close. We'd get within 75, 80 yards, and he'd make a half-mile loop because all of a sudden the wind changed. Well, people who are that cautious about the wind kill a lot of elk. People who think there's a shortcut to the wind and to your scent don't kill many elk. So, Charles says, Randy, my anniversary falls during my bow hunt. Any good excuses that you've used to get away? No, I didn't get married in archery season. I didn't get married in rifle season. I got married in February. I don't know what to tell you. You're just going to have to take her with and convince her that that's a really good use of your time. What a greater way to spend a honeymoon or an anniversary, right? Out elk hunting. Let's see. Travis says, hello, I'm very new at this. I want to hunt in Colorado next year, but I'm lost for trying to find a spot to hunt. Only have a week of vacation and I live in Texas, so where do I go to find units? Go to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website. They have great information. It takes a lot of digging to find it there. That's why if you sign up for the GoHunt.com that we talk about, their insider program, Colorado is its own module. Everything you want to know about Colorado is there. So that's, if you value your time and you just want to get right to it and not have to dig here and dig there and go to this page and that site, there's something to be said for having all that right at your fingertips. And I don't care what state it is, but in this case, we're talking about Colorado. Go to GoHunt.com and sign up for their insider. And if you use promo code Randy, they're going to give you $50 of free Mad Money in their shop. They're really good gear shop. Oh, Mark says, Randy, have you ever hunted southern Beaverhead County in Montana? You're trying to make a liar of me. Can I plead the fifth? I think the way I answered it probably tells you, yes, I've hunted southern Beaverhead County. Actually, I had a deer tag in the Lima Peaks, and it's a limited entry mule deer tag. This was in 2014. And me and Tyler go in there, and we're tripping over elk. Every day, we saw at least 4 legal bull elk. But he and I had both already filled our elk tags. And there were guys way down at the parking lots and stuff, and we'd come walking out, and we're like, what are you hunting for? Oh, well, I got an elk tag. Well, see those ones right up there? We could not get anybody to go up there to shoot them. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of elk in those places. Now all the folks down there are going to be mad at me and say, what? And so, let's see. There's all kinds of marital things here. All right. Randy, what is the easiest first-time elk hunt for myself and my 15-year-old son, looking just to go and get some elk meat? It's probably going to be a cow hunt, and there's nothing. I always say it's going to be a cow hunt, and sometimes when I say that face-to-face, people are like, oh, no, go hunt elk. I don't care if it's cows, bulls, spikes, whatever. Go do it. And you're going to have a ton of fun. You're going to see more elk. You're probably going to have a higher likelihood of success. You're going to help with whatever the management strategy is that the biologists have in mind for that area. So I would go to whatever state you have in mind, see what the cow tag situation is, the either sex tags, mostly cow tags, and get one and go do it. And to find cow elk, remember, go and look for food. Food, food, food. And you're going to find cow elk. Oh, let's see. Oh. Oh, there's all kinds of them. Uh-oh, someone's saying, Randy, just tell them to move along. There are no elk down here in this part of Montana. Jonathan asks, when we start e-scouting, how big of an area do you look at? I would say that when I first start e-scouting, and if you go look at our YouTube videos on e-scouting, we look at an area that's probably 20 miles by 30 miles. And then we start shrinking that down and shrinking that down and shrinking that down. And I would bet by the time I'm done with my e-scouting, when I've got my map all dialed in, all my spots saved on my app and everything, I'm probably going to be focusing on an area that's maybe 3 or 4 miles by 3 or 4 miles. That's how dialed in I want to be when I get there, because I've got 5 days, right? I always say I want to sort it out, figure it out, and pack it out. That's my goal in all this. And so when you show up with just 5 days to hunt, and a lot of people sometimes only have 3 or 4 days, you have to have a plan. You have to have it dialed in. You got to know, all right, if this spot doesn't work out, what's the next plan? All right, I'm going to go to that base. And if that doesn't work out, what's the next plan? Where am I going to go where I can check multiple things in one morning and multiple places, maybe in an afternoon? How can I make it so that I'm not spending a lot of my time driving way over here from way over there, so that I'm spending most of my time hunting? When you get there, you got to have a plan in place. And don't give up on the plan. If I gave up on my plan every time I got frustrated or said, man, this is going to be a tough hunt, heck with it. Most of the elk we shoot are in the last 1 or 2 days of every hunt, because we've done our homework, we've worked our plan, we've stuck with it, and eventually it pays off. So I hope that helps, Jonathan. I can't say that there's an absolute science to it, but I would say the reason most people don't fill their public land bull elk tag is either they don't have a plan. I'd say that's the most common thing. They just show up and think, well, maybe an elk will walk by me. You're really counting on a lot of luck. Or when they show up, they have a plan for the first morning. And after that, it's like, well, heck with it. I know what to do now. You have to have a plan, and you got to stick with it and work that plan. And I know a lot of people get discouraged by hunting pressure. I use hunting pressure to my advantage. So think about this, all right? Season opens on a Saturday, and say it's a 2-week season. So Saturday, Sunday, right, that's when most of the pressure is going to be there. The elk, the bulls, are going to go into their deep sanctuaries, and by Monday morning, you know where to look for them. They're going to be in the deepest, darkest, ugliest places you can find. Now the pressure subsides and subsides and subsides by Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and Friday. The elk are like, oh man, there's not nearly as many people around as there was a few days ago. Well, guess what? They're going to start dispersing slightly away. Not like they're going to come way out in the open, but they're probably going to make themselves a little more visible than they were on Monday and Tuesday. So if you can hunt Thursday, Friday, when you know the elk have not been pressured as much for the last few days, and maybe Saturday, Sunday, because you got the weekend. And what's going to happen on Saturday morning? Before the sun comes up, the woods are going to stink like hunters, going to stink like humans. There's going to be all this noise, all this vehicle traffic, and the elk are going to be like, oh, I remember what happened last Saturday. Old Fred stood around out here at daylight and he got shot. Boom. You can count that if you're in their sanctuary areas, they're going to be coming in there just because of hunting pressure. And we're humans. We know what our work week is. And I use hunting pressure as a weekly event as one of my tools. And a lot of times, if it's a longer season, and like Wyoming is great. Some of their rifle seasons are 20 days. Montana, we got a 5-week rifle season. I go and hunt those later periods because the animals are more relaxed. They're going to be out for that little bit of maybe extra 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, and they're going to come out a little early, maybe 10 or 15 minutes earlier in the evening. And that 10 or 15 extra minutes is really, really helpful. So in that instance, I'm using hunting pressure as measured over the whole arc of the season as my ally, instead of just hunting pressure over the course of a 7-day week as my hunting ally. So, oh, Brendan says, quitters are the hunter's best friends. The last day in Mexico, a New Mexico second archery season is a human ghost town and an elk traffic jam. You know what, Brandon? I think there's some truth to that. I hunt until the last days of season. I try to never leave. And those last few days, you're right. Though if I have to pick in a season, I'm going at the end of season. I don't care if it's archery, if it's rifle, if it's whatever, because I know it's like Brandon's going to say, a veritable human ghost town and an elk parade. Not a real elk parade, but relative to the rest of the season. Let's see, Randy, do you know any blogs or websites where hunters who are looking for a hunting partner to go elk hunting with? I'm 56 and beginning to worry about being out there alone, and many friends don't have the time or money to do more than a local deer hunt. Chaz. You know, there's quite a few websites. The forums are good places to go. We have a really big forum called Hunt Talk. If you go to hunttalk.com and you introduce yourself properly, those guys will usually help you out a little bit. I can't say that anyone's going to say, oh yeah, come with me. But there's a lot of guys kind of like you who are there listening, lurking, reading, picking up information. And it's amazing how many people have made friendships there and ended up being hunting partners. And that's a good one if you're an archery hunter. Bowsite.com is a really good place. There's just places to do it. If you don't live in a place with a lot of elk hunters, you know, say you live somewhere in the Midwest or in the East and it's a long journey, it is definitely a challenge. For those of us who live right here, we're spoiled. It's pretty easy to find someone to go elk hunting with you. Unless you shoot one down in a really bad hole, then you don't have any elk hunting friends. Carol and Jim ask, Randy, how do the elk feed? How do you find elk to relate to a burn in regard to their bedding, feeding behavior? My experience, and again, this is not science, it's just experience, and it might, you know, whenever someone gives their experience, it could always be an outlier to the bell curve. So I always say, this is my experience. My experience is that elk are going to feed on the fringes of the burns, and I'm talking public land bull elk because they're the most highly pressured. And then they're going to find some place to bed where they can get out of that burn right at, when it's legal shooting light, they're already heading out of that burn, and they have some place of cover that they can get to a really rough sanctuary area to bed. If I find a sanctuary near a burn, I'll sit there and I will hunt that all season long. Michael knows I will do that, don't you, Michael?
Yep.
We sat on the same rock for what, 5 days in a row?
Yep.
Michael's like, yep. Sat there behind the same optics 5 days in a row. Yep. Because I knew it was the best spot out there. And there was a burn nearby, right?
That's right.
Right behind us. So, let's see.
There were big bulls there too.
And there were big bulls. We didn't kill one, but we saw a few. Man, a lot of people want to know my workout regimen. Why would they care? Because I drive a desk for a living. Michael saw me dancing around today. I finished the last 2 tax returns of tax season today. I am done with tax season. And people are saying, well, you can't be done. There's still 4 or 5 days left. Not me. Put it in the extension pile. I got better things to do. I'm done. So now I can start with, that's my point of saying, for about 2 or 3 months out of the year, I don't get any exercise hardly. I got a machine down in the house. I got one of those incline machines, what do they call it, an elliptical machine. I do that a little bit, but mostly I'm driving a desk. And now it's put my pack on and just hike and hike and hike and hike. And I don't let my calendar, my daily schedule, interfere with my hike. I treat my hike like it's an appointment on my calendar. And then you have to go do it. And that's what I do. So by the time hunting comes around in August or September, I've probably lost 6 or 7 pounds, and my core strength is back where I want it. My ability to hike with weight is where I want it. My feet are conditioned. That's another thing. People who don't hike a lot, your feet that first day or 2 are getting hammered, right? You don't have the calluses. You don't have any of the strength and just the expression of weight and force across the muscles in your feet, that they're prepared for what you're going to put them through. for me, that's a big part of the value of hiking all summer, is that my feet really get in good shape. What's the difference between a cow bark and a bull bark? How would you treat each situation? Amy asked that. They're both bad news. I treat both situations usually with a bit of colorful language and pack up and say, all right, where's the next group elk? Because if they bark, they've found you. They've figured out that you're there. They've smelled you. They've heard you. They've seen you. And when they bark, they're heading out. So whether it's a bull or a cow, a bull will usually be a really deeper, hoarser, gruff bark, but either one, bad news. Let's see, someone says, Randy, I drive a desk too. I take a walk during work hour. That's a good thing to do. Weekends, drags his spouse out with him. Those, whatever you can do to, I mean, I don't sit in a chair a lot. I actually have a stand-up desk. And I do a lot of exercising while I'm standing in front of my desk. No commission from Veridesk necessary. Let's see. And then someone said Randy's workout is his spring bear hunts. You're right, Jim and Carol. I do a lot of that. And I know that a lot of states don't have spring bear season, so they can't really do that. But, oh. Morgan and Mike say hi. Hey, Morgan and Mike, how are you? Nicholas, Randy, Boise is sick. Can't wait to see you. Super good time at the BHA rendezvous. So I get a lot of requests saying, where am I making appearances? This week, Friday and Saturday, I'll be in Boise at the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Rendezvous. Stop by the Leopold booth. I will be there shaking hands, kissing babies, not kissing hands and shaking babies, shaking hands and kissing babies. Kenny asks, Randy, have you hunted elk with your 6.5 Creedmoor? Nope. I've not. I've got better options for elk. I'm not saying that a Creedmoor 6.5 wouldn't do it, but just not my choice for an elk round. You can do, you can just get way better options for elk. Yeah, you hit an elk at a reasonable distance with a high quality bullet with 6.5 Creedmoor, it's going to die. But not every time is that perfect setup, so I want to have other options available to me. Let's see. Mike asked, there was a big fire, greater than 60,000 acres in an area of the Frank. I think he's talking about the Frank Church Wilderness. They used to have lots of elk driven off to the rocky areas by habitat and wolf problems. Do you think the elk populations will return, or are mega fires bad? I think the elk populations will return if there aren't other reasons for them to be depleted, whether it's wolves, hunting pressure, disease, whatever it might be. If there are burns, even these quote-unquote mega fires, they usually come back within 3 or 4 years rather than 1 year. And in most instances, I mean, we have a big one here south of Bozeman that people said, oh, there'll never be any wildlife there again. Well, 3 years later, there's a lot of wildlife there. Oh gosh, Michael, we have got loads of these. For showing up late like we did, hey folks, I'm not big on showing up late. This is not something that I like to do, is to be late, but we had the technology problem. Randy, have you ever considered doing a series of videos on stalking elk, explaining why you are approaching an elk a certain way? Huh. I've not thought about that. We might want to put that on the list, yeah, Michael. That's a really good question. And I guess for me, it's just all about wind, and it's about shot angles when we get there. For us, we have to not just worry about the hunter's shot angle, but we've got to worry about the camera shot angle. So first consideration for us is wind, and then once we get there, are we going to have the shot angles for both the hunter and the cameras that we're looking for? I guess I'd look at the landscape and say, yeah, we're going to do this, because I've done it enough times. But maybe we should do that. That sounds like a good one. Whoever gave us that question, thanks. We'll put that one on the list. I thought you were talking about stalking, like still hunting, like you do for whitetails in the big woods of the upper Midwest. If you want to hear an interesting perspective on elk hunting, right? You guys hear me talk about glassing, calling in the rut, but glassing the rest of the year. I had a guest on my podcast that just released on Sunday, Todd Orr. So our podcast is called Hunt Talk Radio. Todd has taken 28 public land bull elk, just about all of them with a handgun, and he does it by getting on a track in the snow and still hunting them. He goes into great detail about how he does it, how things sometimes don't work out, what lessons he's learned. So if you want to see like a 180 perspective or hear a 180 degree different perspective than how I do it, go download that podcast. It's I think it's episode 81 with Todd Orr. You're going to hear about the grizzly bear attack he survived, but there's a lot of really cool stuff about how he elk hunts. And he has the track record to show for it. So, which gets to another question here. Do I carry a sidearm when hunting in grizzly country? No, I don't. In that episode I was just telling you, that podcast with Todd Orr, Todd, what'd I say, killed over 20-some bull elk with a handgun. He carries bear spray also. So think about that. A guy who's accomplished with a handgun, he thinks that bear spray possibly saved his life in that attack. So I'm a big fan of bear spray, and Todd and I talked about it a lot before and after the podcast, and his thought was, you know what, if it makes you more comfortable carrying a sidearm, certainly do that, but I don't. Because I'm I'm no good with a sidearm. I won't get into that, as bad as I am with a sidearm. All right, someone asked a question they saw on my Facebook page about the new Nissan Titan that I'm driving. The question is there a strategic reason that I drive a gas vehicle instead of a diesel, hunting-wise, or just personal preference? Well, my vehicle becomes almost like a side-by-side. It's a big version of a side-by-side. If you saw what I put these trucks through, where I go, I have no regard for the paint job or anything. I need something that's a little more nimble. And the big XD, the Nissan diesel, which is the XD, doesn't have quite the turning radius, quite the approach angles, quite the breakover angles. So I went with the gas half-ton version, the Pro 4X, because it's a little more nimble. And I've had 5 of them of the same pretty much dimensions, everything. They just work really good for me. They are, in all my searching, and out on our Hunt Talk forum, I go through every time I get a truck, and I just search and test drive and do everything I possibly can to say what's out there that for my application. Okay, my application is, I said I need something that when I get to my camp, I almost need a side-by-side. Well, I also need a topper. I also need something that can tow a lot, because we're always towing at least a 10 to 12, sometimes a 14-foot trailer full of gear. So it's just the best mix I've found, and the gas version works better for my application. Now, if I was just towing stuff all the time and didn't need this quote-unquote truck that becomes a side-by-side, no doubt I'd have a diesel. So. Oh, boy, there's a lot of them here. How do I prevent ticks from getting on me? I don't know that I prevent ticks from getting on me, but ticks aren't going to be a big issue in a lot of elk country. I don't want to say they're not an issue, but the time of year, the elevations, the area where ticks are endemic, especially deer ticks that carry Lyme's disease, they're not that much of a concern when you're elk hunting. Now, you guys going turkey hunting, Michael? You guys better have your act together there, right? So, now that we're real time and live again, I just want to make sure everyone got the reminder. Text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453, because we're getting close to our sweepstakes. I think we're going to get it, or our target date is to have it ready to announce by May 10th. So make sure you're on the notification list, or go to Bowtech Archery to their live stream tab, and there's an email link there if you want to sign up via email. So the companies that bring this are Bowtech, Leupold, Onyx, Maps, Go Hunt, Ripcord, Tight Spot, Black Gold, and Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. And now that I say Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, every time I talk about them, we get a whole bunch of questions about what hunting call do you use, what bugle do you use, what da-da-da. So I use good ones. Someone says, am I going to sell my old truck? Yeah, I am. I've had a bunch of email inquiries about it already. It's got 36,000 miles on it. It's got a topper, a big bumper, a worn winch, custom seat covers. It's got a cracked windshield, but every truck in Montana. Your truck got a cracked windshield yet, Michael?
Funny, when I was moving here, right when I crossed the border,
Michael said when he moved here last year, as quick as he crossed the border into Montana, a rock broke his windshield. In Montana, we don't sand the roads, we gravel them, okay? When it snows, they're out there with gravel trucks, not sand trucks. So you get rocks about that big is what they put out there. And you're going this way, and another vehicle's coming that way. They hit that rock and it kicks up, so it's coming at you at 60. You're going 60, about 120 mile an hour impact with a rock about that big. Windshields are not going to last very long. Not that that has anything to do with elk hunting, but. Let's see, Randy, I drew unit 25/27 in Wyoming. Got any tips for hunting this wide open country with no trees? It's a rifle hunt, 10 days, first 10 days of October. Yeah, I do. I would go there before season opens, and I would scout for 2 or 3 days, and you will find those elk. They'll still be bugling some. I would find them, and I would be there the opening morning. I'd pattern my elk. I call it, we do our hunting before season, and we do our tag filling opening morning. In other words, when we're scouting, we're really hunting. And we're patterning these elk. We're learning what they're doing. We're listening to them, especially these early hunts where the rifle hunts start in early October. You're still going to hear some bugling. There's still a lot more activity going on, and it's going on later into the morning, and it starts earlier in the afternoon. But after your first few days of that rifle hunt, these elk, it's going to be like, where'd they go? Be there, get there early, pattern them, and get your elk the first day or two. I mean, if I see one the night before season opens, I go there, I'm like watching that bull until it's pitch dark, sneak out of there, and then I come back in there way before the sun comes up. And I'm there waiting for him. And we kill a lot of our elk opening morning doing just that. So, oh boy, we have got a ton of them. Am I catching enough of these, Michael, or am I can't catch them all. There's hundreds of them. Let's see, outdoors hunter. Do you usually glass towards the west in the morning and the east in the evening in regards to sunrise, sunset? Not exactly. Part of it depends on how it lays out and what areas I want to look at. I try, if at all possible, in the morning to be glassing from the southeast to the northwest. I do like that east sun at my back. In the evening, I'll usually try to glass from the southwest to the northeast. But sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly. You know, some people go the other way. They say, no, I want to be to the west looking east, because if you think about this slope here that is facing west, it stays shaded longer in the morning. And then they do it the other way in the evening where, all right, the first slope to get shaded is the slope that faces west. And their theory is in the morning the elk or animals will stay out longer on the shaded east slope, and then, east slope that faces west, and in the evening they'll come out sooner on the east slope, on the west slope that faces east. I don't know that there's a science to it. I kind of hedge my bet a little bit by trying to be, I always want to be looking slightly north, because in the northern hemisphere I know that at least then the sun is going to be somewhat at my back. But sometimes the drainages just lay out that, you know, it's not like streets where they're perpendicular and they're, all right, everything runs north and south or east and west. So I just try to figure out what's the best for the layout, but my general idea is I want to have the sun at my back, and usually if I'm glassing more north, either to the northeast or northwest or northeast, I'm going to be able to do that to some degree. Let's see. Tips for low visibility elk hunting in October. Boy, that's a hard one. This is what I do, and I know this isn't the answer you probably want to hear. I go to places with better visibility. I know that sounds like a kind of a wisecrack answer, and it's not that at all. But in the unit, I can usually find some place that has better visibility, that's got broken terrain, broken topography. Maybe it's avalanche chutes, maybe it's burns, maybe it's wind shear has created a big series of deadfalls, something that disrupts the landscape, and usually I can glass into those places. Let's see. Oh boy, there are so many. You ever get a bull with a bow? Not as often as I'd like. I think I've shot, let's see, 3 of them with a bow. If I remember right, or is it 4? Can't remember. I know for sure 3 of them come to mind, but I sure scare a lot of them by getting close and they smell me or see me. They're just so much fun, and you know, being out there with your bow. And this is just a plug for Bowtech. They make such amazing gear. All the accessories I put on, the tight spot, the ripcord, the black gold, all that stuff. The beauty of being out there in the bugling season is I know if I get close enough, my gear is up to it, but I gotta fess up. I get so excited. I'll look down, and my ripcord rest, right, it's a fall away rest. I'll look down and my arrow is just rattling and banging because I'm so excited. And I don't know how you replicate that. But I know that if something goes snare wire, it's probably me and my excitement level. But that's a big part of why I hunt. So bow hunting is really, really hard to beat as far as the fun factor. And we all know that we're going to have less likelihood of filling our tag, right? That's why you pick up a bow. You know you're going to get to hunt more. You know it's going to be close, face to face. But it is probably the pinnacle of a lot of the hunting I do is chasing bugles. And then when that bull decides, you know what, I'm done running. I'm here. I'm coming in. I'm going to whoop you. Whew, boom, 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 boom. That's why we do it. That's why September is such a wonderful time. I wish September lasted about 3 months. And some of you are saying, no, I wish it would last all year. Let's see. Mason asks, what's my favorite state to elk hunt in? Whatever state I have a tag. I am a equal opportunity person when it comes to elk hunting. You give me a tag, I will go. I'd say for archery, probably my home state of Montana or New Mexico, just because their dates are so great in New Mexico. For rifle, probably a toss-up between Wyoming and Arizona. Let's see. Any hunts planned with Corey Jacobson this year? You two are great together. Well, that's all. The reason we're great together is that's all Corey. We're brainstorming. I'm going to see him on Friday. Hopefully we can come up with some strategy. This is one, and this answer probably isn't going to be one someone wants to hear. It was about hunting in the rain. It already scrolled through here. Oh, will you still hunt when it's pouring rain, or do you sit it out? I sit it out. I know that probably some people are going to be like, well, that's stupid. If it's pouring really, really bad rain and I'm archery hunting, I know you'll get people who have different opinions, so take this as just my opinion. I struggle with shooting something in heavy torrential downpour rain where my way to track it and locate it is following a blood trail. Most people say, well, most elk I shoot, they tip over within sight. Okay, I get that. So that's one of the reasons in a heavy torrential downpour, I'll probably not hunt in archery season. In rifle season, it's just, I'll admit it, it sucks. I don't know what else to say. I'll try find a different time, or I know there's times where I got to rest, or there's times I got to do that. I try to get those things done while I'm training. And then we have these, you know, you take our whole camera setup. We've got the camera, we've got the big shotgun mics, we've got the lavalier mics, we've got everything. That thing gets ruined, at a minimum, I'm out $5,000. With our bigger cameras, I'm out $20,000. So that's another just practical reason for it. And I know some people don't have that luxury, and I get that. So, all right, Michael, I think we got time for one more. What do you think?
I think, yeah. We got time for one more.
We got one more? Okay.
I got one more. Somebody wants to know if you bring binos and a spotter when you're in a backcountry hunt.
Do I bring binos and a spotter when I'm doing a backcountry hunt? I always bring binos. I never go without binos. And I would say if it's rifle elk season, I am not going without a spotter. And I have my 60 millimeter gold ring Leupold spotter, and I've talked about that, where it's compact and light. For me, I don't know where you find a better mix of optics quality, weight, and compactness as the 60 millimeter gold ring spotter from Leupold. And that's what I carry. I carry one. A lot of times I'll tell Marcus, oh, you don't need to bring your spotter, I got mine. He brings his anyhow. None of us, all the camera crew, everybody carries their binos on their chest. You see that? Because when we're down and we're glassing and we're set up, it's all hands on deck. Everybody's glassing either through binos or a spotting scope. So I would say in my backcountry hunts for elk, if it's archery season and we're bugling, I don't carry a spotter. Very seldom. Once it switches over to rifle season and it's a glassing operation, I don't leave the truck without it. So there you have it, folks. That's about an hour worth of Randy telling what little he knows about elk hunting. Thanks for following along. We'll be here next Wednesday. And apologize for the little mix-up at the beginning, but the technology guy, Tim, the dude who's down in Kansas, turkey hunting, he got us straightened out, right? Thanks for hanging in with us. Thanks for following along. Have a great day.